Hey everyone, Jordan Spangenburg here for ACTE 633 Module 4. And for this module, for my graphical organizer, I really took the information that was presented to us and grouped it together and just used it to show how special education students can be supported in the virtual classroom. So lots of different resources here and lots of different good things that we were looking at. So the first one here in my organizer I have is just communication, and that's the big thing I took from a lot of the resources that we read and also from Dr. Wright's interview that she gave as well, and that was just the big thing that she seemed to repeat over and over again, is she just appreciated how much her school district communicated to her as a parent as they were working with her child, providing him the services that he needs according to his IEP. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we need to consider in our virtual classroom, is just communicate, especially if the students are younger, so still in like the elementary world, making sure that we're communicating with parents. And even as students are older, middle school and high school, we can communicate directly with them, whether it be via email or Schoology or whatever technology platform they have, but also, still including the parents as well. Since students don't always have that face-to-face interaction in a virtual classroom, some of the work they may be doing maybe asynchronous or just outside of school hours, communication is going to be key. We need to make clear all of our expectations, what we're expecting the students to be doing, and again, just keeping parents involved in all of that so parents know as well, so again, they can be a support to their child in the virtual classroom. A couple other things that stuck out to me here that I just want to hit on then. One of the sources that we read talked about task organization and management, so just a couple of key points that I pulled out there. So the first thing there, prioritizing tasks, and some of these things that we read about, they're going to overlap in what we're doing in our regular face-to-face classrooms if you're a face-to-face teacher as well. So we're just taking this and putting it into the virtual world. But prioritizing tasks and making sure that we're prioritizing tasks for the students as well. So especially in the virtual classroom for students in special education, not giving them too much at once. So chunking things down for them. If we present things kind of in a list form, prioritizing what they need to do first, second, and then third, and also prioritizing tasks based on when we want them to have it done. So that way, if you have a couple of long-term assignments, but, one is due like in the middle of the week and the other one's not due till the end of the week, prioritize the middle of the week task first and then the end of the week task second, so students know what they should be working on at a given time and how to use their time best. Scheduling with families was another big one that one of the sources pointed out. So this was the COI resource. And again, they talked about using, Sign Up Genius or different things that we can send out to parents. That way we can be scheduling with them on a time that works for them. So again, we have to keep in mind in the virtual classroom, it's not always going to be that 7:30 to 3:30 time that we would think of as our regular face-to-face classrooms running. So sometimes with parents who have students in the virtual classrooms or in the online classrooms, that time doesn't necessarily always work for them based on their schedules because they probably have jobs too. So, just being flexible with that, sending out times that parents can sign up to meet with you, and just understanding that as a teacher, your time might need to be flexible as well. It may be something you need to do in the evening, for example, so that way parents are finished with their workday as well. Also, one of the things that the COI resource looked at here was the workspace. So that was one of the things that we really focused hard on when we had to go virtual during COVID, was teaching students how to find a workspace in their home away from distractions and getting themselves set up so that it kind of resembled what their workspace might look like in a classroom. So finding a spot, whether it be in the living room or in their basement or in their bedroom, just a place that's away from distractions, getting them set up at some sort of desk area if they had one at their house, or kind of a makeshift area if they had to use like a kitchen table or a table in their room or something like that. But just having a space set up and recognizing that this space is where learning is going to happen. So similar to ways that students associate, their desk space in the classroom is where learning is going to happen for them. In the virtual classroom, their workspace is where learning is going to happen. I think this is super key for regular and special ed students as well, as just identifying that space that the work is going to happen and just helping students understand that when I'm here, this is school time, this is where learning is going to happen, this is where, I need to be ready to learn away from distractions, so you shouldn't have any devices or anything like that you wouldn't have in the regular ed classroom as well. The third thing here The whole idea of UDL, and this is a big one. So when we're looking at this and considering then the virtual world for special ed students, what are some things that we should focus on? So I pulled a couple of things out. One of the video resources, focused on teaching the technology. And again, back to COVID, this is what we saw when we were forced to all go virtual, is that even though we're using the technology every day in the classroom, it doesn't always translate to home. We can't assume that the students are going to know how to use it, and we can't assume that parents are going to be able to support them as either. So one of the big things, especially for special education students in our virtual classrooms, is making sure that they understand how to use the technology, and also making sure that parents are able to use it as well so they can support. Second thing I think we have to consider here is pacing and scheduled breaks. So just like we have natural breaks in our regular ed classroom, whether it be transitions from class to class, recess and lunch, or things like that, there needs to be something set up like that in our virtual classroom as well, especially for our students who are very high energy, more movement learners. There just needs to be time where there's scheduled breaks where they can get up, get away from their screen, and be moving around. Also pacing as well, and this is something that we would think of in our face-to-face classrooms as well, trying to find that comfortable medium of not moving too fast, but also not moving too slow. So again, that's going to be something that you just have to work through as an online teacher, and just kind of gauging your classroom and what the needs are. Third thing, super important, making sure our materials are accessible. We learned, especially during COVID again, that students are not going to be accessing the materials during the normal school day. They're not always going to come when we have synchronous face-to-face time set up. So we need to make sure that before the lessons even start, that we're testing and making sure that all of the materials that the students are needing on whatever online platform they're using is accessible, and they know exactly how to use them. And that leads us into the fourth one there then, giving students control how and when they engage in the work. So again, we can't assume that all of our students, whether regular ed or special ed, are going to come if we have face-to-face synchronous time set up. I saw a lot during the COVID year that students were accessing work at super late at night, super early in the morning, just times that are not typical with a normal school day. So again, we as online teachers just need to be flexible with that. And also, besides the when, also the how the students are engaged in their work. So the resources that we looked at here talked about making sure that we have different ways of allowing students to show what they know, different ways of allowing students to take assessments and prove that learning has taken place. And then finally, the last thing I want to look at here is just overall support as we work with our students in special education. So just some things that we can make sure that we're doing, whether we are regular ed teachers or if we are specific case managers as well for our kiddos, is number one, supporting with learning materials that go along with vendor developed products. So I know the district that my kids attend during COVID, they used a vendor developed product. The teachers did not create it. But again, we as teachers need to make sure that we are supporting the kids through these products. We again can't assume that they're going to be 100% meeting the needs of all of our learners. So we need to make sure that we're supporting through those vendor developed products. The second thing, providing synchronous teaching times, and again, finding times throughout the week and making these times different. Don't make them the same every day, because again, we can't assume that students are always going to be able to access us at those times. And again, just being flexible with that. Some of those synchronous times may have to happen when we wouldn't consider it to be, a regular school day. So again, as teachers, protect yourself, think about self-care, but also then, keep in mind our students, and maybe having one time a week where you have some sort of synchronous evening hours for those students that can't necessarily always come during the day for whatever their circumstance might be. And then finally, just the way that we provide materials in our support. So, having visuals, having text, having audio presentations. So this, the core source, again, I think talked about, podcasts or videos that we have uploaded to our learning platforms that the students are using. So just different ways that we can, be communicating to our kiddos and just providing them the support as well. So overall, I found this module really helpful. Looking forward to the discussion and the feedback as we go through our week.